Let's welcome in Sharmila Joshi. Sharmila, what's your view on the markets? 8,550. You think returns will be back-ended if one comes out and buys right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think that whatever parameters you look at, it does seem that markets now moving slightly to the overbought zone. And let's not forget that we are at the start of an earnings season, which will get kick-started by TCS earnings, and I think you have a couple of other mid-cap earnings also today. So I think given that and given the fact that a lot of the positives, whether you talk of good monsoons or a fairly decent quarter four earnings, is now is sort of in the price. So to really, for a convincing move from here, actually I would say more than convincing, a sort of a rally that would give you a more of a sense of comfort. You need that the earnings season plays out. So I think from that perspective, it would be great if market could consolidate at this level, and then really as we get more and more into the earnings season, and if numbers are whatever market's expecting, or I would think that in some mid-cap cases may be better than what market's expecting, then I think this rally has further legs to move up.
Right, but as of now, you would be reluctant to buy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that given where some of the stocks are, then as to what they were just 2 or 3 weeks ago, it does make you a little worry, because I think that in some cases the kind of rally that you're seeing is pretty surprising.
Right. As far as mid-cap space is concerned, there you see no problems, or there also you think valuations are getting out of hand?
Yes, I think in certain cases they are sort of running ahead of themselves, and I think what is also happening is that somewhere where in the mid caps that differentiation is happening, that where you have a company where debt levels are sort of okay and better managed, and results, there's a possibility that results could be better. Those are sort of running ahead of themselves as compared to some of the more leveraged names. And also market seems to be looking for themes now sort of to play on. So which is great, but it also somewhere indicates that if there were to be any sort of negative cue, then these stocks could be the first sort of to correct, because that's where the traders have made money in this last leg. Because let's not forget that when we got into this contract, a lot of people were short, given you had that entire event in Europe to play out, etc. So as I'm saying, I think there are a whole lot of reasons to be slightly cautious at this point in time. Not that I'm negative, but I think it just makes better sense to wait for, like, if you like a company, just wait for the numbers to come, let that action play out, and then start investing in it.
Right. How would you look at the rally that we are seeing in the PSU banking space? You think that is something that caught you by surprise?
Absolutely. That I think was something that I was sort of alluding to when I said that, the rise in some has been surprising, because I think all said and done, when you look at where NPA levels were just a quarter back, it's really difficult to sort of imagine what is exciting the market so much. Yes, I think definitely the fact that, you've had this whole, like with HCC and some other companies now sort of taking advantage of that new RBI scheme of dealing with their debt, etc. I think that more than being a positive for companies who have the debt, I think it's positive for companies, for the banks who have given the debt, because that will give them a clearer picture, or give us also a clearer picture when they speak of their numbers. But all that said, I think the kind of rally that we are seeing in the PSU space is really quite surprising, and that is also something that what we were talking of earlier, where market is looking for themes. So whether it is this whole PSU banking theme with beaten down names, or suddenly this interest in solar industry and that kind of play, or the monsoon play with fertilizers, etc. So market is approaching, traders are now approaching the market with these various themes and trying to buy stocks within that space. And that, I think, is also a natural phenomena when you see that the run-up in frontline has been so strong that you start looking at mid-cap names, and the market gets more depth as we go ahead. But all that said, I think it might make more sense to just wait for numbers to come in now before you really invest further.
Right. As far as the IT space is concerned, which will start declaring numbers today, any view on Infosys, TCS? Would you want to buy? Generally, this time around, the expectation for Q1, which is the strongest quarter for these companies, is that the numbers may not be great.
Yes, but as you said, this is the strongest quarter, and some of the cross-currency wins are in the favor of these companies. And I think more importantly, what we will also hear is some bit of Brexit commentary from both Infosys and TCS. Because, I think it's one thing to really just sort of, talk about that as an event and that it could be a negative for IT companies, and to hear from the companies themselves as to how they really see this affecting their business. But I think given the price that TCS, for instance, is at now and the kind of valuation it is at now, if we hear a fairly decent set of numbers from them and hear of their outlook, if the outlook they speak of gives you some confidence, then I think there could be a better case for buying some of the large cap ITs as opposed to some of the mid cap ITs at this point in time.
Right, but would you look at mid cap IT? You would want to play the IT space because we're getting a lot of news flow on Visa from US. Currencies are getting volatile. Plus, the growth is not that great in most of the sectors that they are operating. So, would you just want to stay away?
See, actually, it all depends. I think that if you're looking at this market with a very short-term view, then yes, maybe at this point in time, IT may not be the best space to be in. But if you want a little comfort in your portfolio, where earnings are going to be decent and steady going forward, then I don't think that you can entirely ignore IT as a space. And I think, just coming back to what we were talking of earlier, if this kind of rally continues in the market, then there will be other sectors will also join in, and I definitely think that IT will be among the sectors that investors will like, especially if this kind of rally continues. So just now it's looking for those themes which, they didn't buy earlier, or looking for new names within small cap and mid cap. But I think at some point in time, some sort of buying will also come into IT if this mid-cap rally continues.
Today we had a report coming in about Bharat Forge from CLSA where they have cut down their target price. The stock is down 2-3%, but it's not a surprise, right? You expect earnings cuts for that name?
Absolutely. I think, given the kind of news flow that you had for Bharat Forge, this is not really surprising. And I personally think that it can be bought at this price. So let this report play itself out. But I think at this price, you can definitely go ahead if you're a longer term investor and buy into Bharat Forge.
Right. And as far as Bharat Forge is concerned, why would you want to buy? I mean, are valuations fine? Are expectations now too low? What is the sort of rationale?
I think everything, I think everything is in the price now. Whatever was there, negative news flow that was to be there, I think that's in the price. Valuations. And, at the end of the day, from an Indian perspective, it is a sort of a niche play. And if you look at the kind of valuations it's available at now, I think there is great comfort, especially if you're a longer term investor. So I think again, we come back to that question that, what is the kind of time horizon that you're looking at? If you're looking at stocks with, sort of a theme that is in flavor, then Bharat Forge may not be a stock that you want to be in. But I think if you're looking at it from a pure returns perspective over, a comfortable period of time, then Bharat Forge is a good name to invest in at this price.
Right. As far as PFC REC is concerned, I think PFC has declared a bonus right now in the ratio 1:1. Of course, bonus doesn't matter, but how would you look at PFC REC? Off late, a lot of excitement into these names?
I know, but very honestly, these are not stocks that I track too closely. And while they're decent names, I don't really have a specific call on either.
Right. A specific call on any, NBFCs that you have, anything that you like? Of course, I know that you like SKS Microfinance, but apart from that, anything else?
Well, I think the run-up again there has been fairly sharp, whether it's a Mannapuram, whether it's a Muthoot Capital. So I think Muthoot, just declared their numbers, so those numbers.
It was Muthoot Capital, so.
Yeah.
Not Muthoot Finance.
Not Muthoot Finance, correct. So I think it just makes sense to just wait for the numbers even in these, because year two the run-up has been fairly sharp. I mean, when we were talking of Mannapuram Finance also, it used to be at 30 levels. I think now it's currently at 70 something levels. So, the run-up in some of these stocks has been fairly sharp. So I think it makes sense to again just wait for numbers. But I think Shriram Transport Finance could be another interesting name.
It's one name which is not done well. I mean, except for the Q4 numbers. After the Q4 numbers, it's not done well before, right? It was a big underperformer. Then from May, it started to outperform.
Yes, I think it's sort of been a little late to join the rally. There were some issues earlier, but I think, now my sense is that given the fact that we have a fairly decent monsoon and you're seeing a pickup in second-hand commercial vehicle space, etc., Shriram Transport Finance could be a good stock to buy, given this kind of a scenario.
Right. As far as ONGC, Oil India, some news flow coming in regarding kerosene deregulations. Now, if you would pull up the Nifty 50 stocks and look at the cheapest names, these or underperforming names, these would be one of the few within them. Would you want to buy? You think they'll play a catch-up? There is a liquidity boost in the market, so maybe everything gets valued at a very optimum level.
Yes, I think all that is true, but very honestly, I mean, if I were to sort of balance my portfolio with a longer-term perspective, then I would look at really some other names outside that. Definitely, I think given the fact that if you do see this, the negative news, at least for ONGC, starts to diminish, if you see this move coming in on kerosene as well. But my outlook on crude basically is not that great, for me to be very positive on this play. Yes, I think, if we start, if you really do hear that this is also going to be a policy and you're going to see an increase in kerosene prices every month or whatever, every quarter, then I think it will just give you sort of reason to stay invested in some of these companies which you may have, especially the oil marketing companies, if you have bought them at lower levels. I mean, when it comes to the exploration space, I still would prefer some of the other sectors.
Right. If you just look at some of the top performing names, they are mainly from the high beta names. So, not the traditional names have gone up. Vedanta, Hindalco, all of them have done well. PSU banks, some of the other names that we've spoken about. What do you make of this flow activity that we are seeing? Is it just lack of ideas on companies which are delivering earnings, and that's why you're seeing this sort of money flowing into these high beta names?
Yeah, possibly, and I think that, when markets are at this kind of a level and then you don't really want to enter into a large, like some of the frontline stocks, then you look for sort of beaten down names or sectors. And, there have been some sort of positive news flow. It's not that it's without a reason. I mean, you have had positive news from China for metals, etc. But that said, a lot of it is also in the price. I mean, Hindalco was about 90 rupees about a month back. And now it's at, or a little bit more than that, and now it's at 135. So if you're looking at it in absolute percentage returns, it's pretty fantastic. So would you still want to continue to buy at this level? So that's the basic question. So yes, I think while you continue to see this kind of interest in the market, these will be typically the high beta stocks will be the stocks that will get more interest. But I think that is precisely why I would be a little cautious, and I would want to buy names where I see quarter earnings strong and therefore a better possibility of making money in them with a longer term perspective.
Right. As far as flows are concerned, the numbers have not been big, but the movement this time around has been big. Do you think there is a lot of F&O activity which is taking place?
I'm not really sure, because very honestly, I haven't looked at the numbers. But I think from whatever I see of the FI and domestic numbers, it's not really, as you're saying, giving you a very clear picture as to where the interest lies. So I think a lot of the interest is also coming from domestic investors, HNIs, traders, that kind of group, into the year of large deals taking place, etc. And interest in stocks. So I think, that's also perhaps one of the reasons why you're seeing a greater activity within the mid-cap space.
Right, Sharmila. Thank you so much for joining us here this afternoon. Hope to see you again.